fact, if we talk about the compliances part, as regards MSMEs, we have two experts today, Mr. Somesh Arora, who is the partner in Sapphire and Sage Law Offices. He is a legal expert, so he will be able to tell us which are the compliances, in fact, which need to be done by the MSMEs. And we have the CA, Mr. Jaykumar Tejwani, who is a chartered accountant and has been working to help the MSMEs and other businesses, of course, in compliance of all the terms and conditions.
Microphone on हो गया मेरा.
So it will be a very interesting session because country has millions and millions of businesses who keep struggling for lack of knowledge for meeting the compliance requirements of the government and various other institutions. When the COVID-19 started, everybody got worried that what will happen to the compliances which have to be done on 31st March. What will happen to the compliances which have to be done on 30th April, 31st May, 30th June, whether it is compliances related to the corporate law, Companies Act, or the compliances related to the taxation provisions, Direct Tax Act, corporate taxation, or GST, or labor laws, or shops and commercial establishments, state laws, their environment provisions, then Factories Act, then Payment of Wages Act, then compensation, a host of laws. I think there's too many laws which need to be complied with. I was attending a board meeting day before yesterday, and being an audit committee chairman, they placed before me the compliance report. That is a requirement, in fact, by every listed company, that the compliance report of various compliance of various provisions is to be placed before the audit committee and the board. So when I saw the list, it was a huge list. I think 45 or so many compliances were reported that this is the requirement, this is what has been done, this was the date, and on this date it has been filed. Now I was wondering, what will happen to the MSMEs, micro, small and medium enterprises, which are not having so much of professional manpower and so much of expertise. They are in fact busy dealing with somehow managing their day-to-day affairs in production, in improving the efficiency, money, a lot of other things. Then of course managing their staff, keeping their morals. What has happened during the COVID-19. All the plans and all the receivables, all the revenues have gone to a 6. Even the expenditure continues, but the realization of revenue, sales, everything stopped. So in this situation, the priorities are different. You have to somehow keep sustaining, keeping your employees with you, somehow keeping the operations going, keeping your customers with you, keeping your bankers with you. Then the question of compliances, if it is 1 or 2 is fine, but if there are tens and tens of compliances and 40 something compliances, I don't know how it is going to resolve. Then I was looking at the ease of doing business, because these compliances come in the way of the need for compliances. First of all, why so many compliances? I mean, can we not club them? Can we not consolidate them? Can we not make a few compliances which cover all the aspects of meeting the requirements of the law and business requirements? Then I was looking at why this ease of doing business is not improving. Although we have improved substantially to 63 over the last 3-4 years out of 190. But then 63 itself is a very long haul, you see, to cover. The major areas where I found that there was, not very, we could not accomplish much, was the starting a business. Now, starting a business takes a long time. There are so many approvals required. And the other area which was of concern is the enforcing contract. Enforcing contract is, I think, 160 or something out of 190. So if you enter into a contract, business is always a contract. Contracting with your parties, contracting with your suppliers, contracting with your buyers, contracting with your customers, contracting with your machinery suppliers, with employees, with so many bankers. So if your contract after contract is executed and doesn't get enforced because of the delays in legal mechanism, or it gets enforced but it takes years, maybe 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. How long the business will keep fighting the cases and for enforcement of contract? If a big order gets stuck and the money is not realized, you go to court. Take the case of checks. Checks are getting dishonored. If you have sold some material of worth 1 crore, 2 crore, and your checks get dishonored, you will go to courts. And if it takes 3 years, 5 years to enforce and get the payment of that 2 crore or 1 crore, will your business survive? No. So enforcing contract becomes a hurdle in ease of doing business. And if out of 10, 5 cases go like this, you are bound to close the business. Your account will become NPA, your employees will not be able to get the salary, and you will also sustain losses. And the whole business, which one builds with a lot of hard work, putting is all savings, putting is all dreams together, will go for a 6 if contracts do not get enforced and you don't get. So these compliances play a very important role. And everybody has to comply with the legal requirements. Everybody is supposed to comply. But then there should be provisions which should be able to make and facilitate compliances. It should not be so difficult that people are not able to even comply with. So that is one thing. We have our expert today, Mr. Arora, is going to probably talk on these issues. What are the compliances which are easy to comply with, which are difficult to comply with? I think they are the experts. I leave it to them to explain. The second issue is which we are going to discuss is about the recovery of dues by the MSMEs. So there is MSME Development Act of 2006, which provides a mechanism for recovering the delayed dues, which is called delayed payment of dues. And the Act provides setting up of MSME facilitation councils in each state. So that council is basically a body comprising of local district authorities. I think director of the state is chairman of the council, and then director industries. And then there are members from the industry as well as associations and other departments, concerned departments, as well as banks. So basically the people, MSMEs who are the sufferers, who are the sellers, they have to in fact lodge the claims before the MSME facilitation councils once their dues get delayed. And how do you recognize that they get delayed? It is 45 days the cutoff. Beyond 45 days, it is considered to be delayed, and the buyer has to pay interest at the rate of 3 times of the bank rate for the delayed payment beyond 45 days. 45 days of the agreed date. But it should not be beyond 45 days in any case. Even if the agreed date is 90 days, interest has to be paid beyond 45 days. So they have to approach the facilitation councils, and then MSME facilitation councils act like quasi-judicial bodies. They take a decision asking both the parties to make their presentations and cases. If they want, they can refer it to arbitrator, and arbitrator looks at it from the legal point of view, asking for both the parties to represent, and then the arbitrator gives the judgment. So that is the way recoveries are ensured through the MSME Development Act. Ministry of MSME has also set up a portal called MSME Samadhan. The purpose of that portal is not to give you resolution of the delayed payment or get you realized all the delayed payments. The purpose of the portal is that it's basically name and shame kind of a portal. once you upload your delayed payments with name of the company, amount, date, and all that on the MSME Samadhan portal, the buyer department, organization, government department, or PSU, or any other corporate will take a note of it that their default is being reported on a public platform with the government. And the government also will take a note and might follow up with the concerned faulting department, which is delaying the release of payments. So it comes to the notice of various people, and that is how I think it triggers an action from the defaulting buyer, and the buyer releases the payment so that his name can be removed from the list of defaulters on that Samadhan portal. So it has been working well, as the feedback is that people don't want their names to appear as defaulters on the MSME Samadhan portal, which is a government portal. So the government also comes to know that who is defaulter, who is not. So, nobody likes that kind of a, fame that is Samadhan portal is providing. So we are going to discuss this aspect also today. And I am sure Mr. Tejwani and our other friend Mr. Arora are going to talk about this as to how do we resolve this delayed payment problem and what are the better ways. And if at all we have to go through this facilitation council, is there any improvement required in the working of the facilitation council, and what way we can get it improved? So I will stop here. We will have enough time to interact with our experts and take questions from the audience also, if there are any. I will invite Mr. Somesh Arora first, who is the very experienced legal person, has more than 30 years experience in law. He's a partner in Sapphire and Sage. He has been both in the active court practice as well as in the commercial arbitration. It's a very important job that he is doing. He has been providing consultancy to many MNCs and also MSMEs, so large corporates as well as the micro, small, and medium. He is expert in recoveries. That's a very good thing. He will let us know his experience in recoveries. And he has a specialized team of MSME for dealing with MSME issues and particularly the recoveries. So over to you, Mr. Arora. I don't have to ask you any question. You have understood the context, the two issues relating to the compliances for the MSMEs, one, and second is delayed payment. You can throw some light on that also. You have enough time to speak. Mr. Arora, over to you.
Thank you everyone to be here on this webinar. Mute yourself. Dr. Kumar, you may mute yourself, so there is no background music and nothing. Wonderful, sir. So now, hearing Dr. Kumar when he was saying years of litigation, check bouncing, and other things, there was a small smile on my face, and then suddenly Dr. Kumar picked up the act. Today, I'm going to speak and tell you, don't be pessimistic. This is one beautiful piece of legislature you have, very close to my heart. Because this is one document, one legislature drafted for MSMEs. It's your book, sir. I'll tell you what exactly you have. These 20 minutes, I can't say about startup businesses, I can't say about businesses, but I can definitely give you confidence about your recoveries, for sure. These 20 minutes, sir, I'll explain you everything about the act and your rights for the payment. Zubair, can I request for the slide, please? First slide.
Sure, sir.
For 20 minutes. That's all, humble request. First slide says rights. Zubair, you may mute yourself.
Okay. Just one.
Thank you. So we have all silence and all attention to this. Sir, every slide and every word is very important. Please go through it. Rights of supplier. I'm insisting on the word rights. And obligations of the buyer. Obligations. Co-payment defaults. Next slide, please, Umair. So this is basically Dr. Kumar has already laid the platform. I'll not repeat again. What is our act about? What is in MSMEs for you? I will not waste much time here. Zubair, next slide, please. So, sir, this is again their rights created in favor of suppliers and obligations fastened upon buyers in MSME Act. So, if you are a MSME, be very sure the law protects you in and out. Next slide, please. Now, let's understand what are these MSMEs. COE 1st of July 2020. Very interestingly, after this COVID, even the government is understanding Atmanirbhar Bharat. They want MSMEs to grow up, and that is why the criteria have been changed now. So the criteria are investment in plant and machinery / equipment. When you say equipment, it's more for suppliers. When it's plant and machinery, it's more for manufacturers. Rupees 1 crore, up to rupees 1 crore, but then the turnover should also be up till 5 crores. Then you are a micro enterprise. So these criteria have been enhanced now to cover up more industries and bring them within the purview, so you have more benefits. When you say small enterprise, the investment plant and machinery / equipment is 10 crores or turnover rupees 50 crores. For medium enterprise, the investment is 50 crores and turnover is 250 crores. So please bracket yourself in whatever bracket you are right now. So if you are micro, you are small, you are medium, because everything has a special aspect in the act itself. I'll come to that aspect. Zubair, next slide, please. Next, please. Correct. So let's first understand how the act defines supplier. So supplier says micro or small enterprise. So right now, if you see micro and small means, this is up till 50 crore investment and turnover. And you have to get your Udyog Aadhaar memorandum. Very important, sir. Please do take that. The way we have our Udyog Aadhaars, Aadhaar numbers, please have your Udyog Aadhaar memorandums also done. It covers companies, cooperative societies, trusts, body engaged in selling goods, services. And the most important word here is produced by MSC. So if you are only a trader, if you are only doing trading by importing some good, you won't file within the definition of supplier. This is right now, but the government is pursuing, and they may bring traders also within the purview of this act, but still it is not there. Zubair, next slide, please. So, sir, how is the registration done? You need to file the memorandum with authorities under section 8. Medium, this filing of memorandum is compulsory. Others, that is small and micro, it is an optional thing. So even if you don't file it, even you don't have a UAM, still you fall within the bracket and you can avail your rights. A very interesting judgment by Delhi High Court has covered it. An unregistered MSME. Now, when I say medium here, even if you have filed it and not got it, that's okay. So any small and micro unregistered body is also to be treated as supplier, and you can take benefit out of that. Can I Zubair request for next slide, please? Now, Dr. Kumar laid a platform by saying appointed date. Very, very relevant thing. Appointed date, sir, is the first time, and you may see all the legislation possible. You have to have some agreement. Dr. Kumar was saying contracts. So in MSME, even if you don't have a contract, it's deemed clause that the buyer has to pay you the amount post 15 days. 16 दिन नहीं हो सकता है. आप मांगिए कि मत मांगिए. You demand, you don't demand. You are bound to take your money and is bound to pay your money post 15 days. Most important thing. And then This for 15 days are counted from when? Counted from actual delivery of goods or rendering of services. What is the intent like? The intent is you need to deliver the goods, take the delivery or this thing, acknowledgement, and that's all. The payment is to be made by the buyer. Suppose the buyer is not happy with your goods. He has to raise an objection within 15 days. If he doesn't raise an objection in 15 days, 16 दिन में सर वो ऑब्जेक्शन भी नहीं कर सकता है. ऐसा कोई लॉ नहीं है हिंदुस्तान में जो ये बोलता हो कि आप अपने राइट्स को वेव कर देंगे अगर आप विद इन पीरियड कंप्लाई नहीं करेंगे. So it is an obligation on the buyer and right of the seller to get the money in case the buyer fails to raise an objection. And that is called, Zumair, the same slide please. And same is called deemed acceptance. So in all the contracts, there must be offer acceptance. Here it's a deemed acceptance. अगर आप नहीं बोलेंगे तो मान लीजिए आपने मान लिया है कि गुड्स परफेक्ट हैं, और अगर गुड्स परफेक्ट नहीं भी हैं तो आप उसमें फंस जाएंगे. आपका माना जाएगा कि दिस इज एन डीम्ड एक्सेप्टेंस ऑन योर पार्ट एंड दैट इज व्हाई यू कांट चेंज इट. सो इट्स अ वेवर ऑफ योर राइट टू चैलेंज एंड फाइल ऑब्जेक्शन. एंड दिस ऑब्जेक्शन कैन बी सर नॉट ओरल. It has to be either by emails or even by WhatsApp also. WhatsApp objection is also valid and legally tenable. Correct? Zumair, next slide, please. Sir, what are the rights now created in favor of supplier and obligation on the buyer? Liability to make payment within 45 days. Very, very interesting clause, section 15 of the Act. What it says, suppose Mr. Sandeep, I can read the name Sandeep on the screen. Mr. Sandeep enters into a contract with one of the companies and the agreement says 3 months from the date of order. Sir, the Act says no 45 days. It's not 3 months. You write whatever you want to write in the contract. So your law is prevailing upon your contract also. What more you want as a supplier, sir? 45 days means 45 days. He has to pay the money. And in case there is no agreed term, then 15 days. That is the appointed date. We just saw this slide prior to this. So the buyer has to make the payment 15 days. After 15 days, in case there is no agreement, and if he, sir, fails to do that, he has to pay 3 times the bank rate notified by RBI. It is not that 6%, 8%. 4.65 is the bank rate as on 1st of June 2020. So it is almost 14%. Sir, कहीं पर law में आपको ये provision नहीं मिलेगा. Why it has been done? It has been done just to ensure that the suppliers get their payment on time. There have been instances where the principal has been paid say after 6 months. Still, you can claim your interest at the rate of 14% for the delayed payment. And every day's delay, you have a right to claim that amount, and that's a compound interest. Zumair, next slide, please. Next to sir. Zumair, next, yeah. So, sir, who is buyer? Buyer is anyone. Be it an MSME, be it government body, be it PSU, they all falls within the definition of buyer. The buyer is somebody who buys any goods or receive any services from supplier, and for consideration. So charity nahi ho sakta hai, there should be some consideration. Zumair, next slide, please. So Section 22 of MSCM Act is very, very important again. What are they doing? What is this act doing? They are trying to gheraw the buyer from all angles whatsoever. So this gentleman buyer has to give additional information, and it's a mandate. It's not discretion, it's a mandate to declare principal amount and interest due remaining unpaid at the end of that year in their annual accounts, which are to be audited. And during each year, any amount paid with interest beyond appointed date. तो साहब अगर आपने डिले किया है तो आप प्लीज एक्सप्लेन कीजिए कितना अमाउंट आपने पे किया और कितना इंटरेस्ट पे किया उसके ऊपर. So this is something you have to disclose. What are your defaults like? Where the amount is paid beyond appointed date, but without adding the interest, and that interest remains due. माने अगर आपने 6 महीना उसको डिले किया and you have paid the principal amount, then you declare when you paid the amount and how much is the interest still payable. इससे बेहतर सर कोई कानून नहीं हो सकता. इतना सारा obligations, amount of interest accrued and remaining unpaid at the end of each year, amount of further interest remaining due and payable even in succeeding years. साल दर साल सर चलता रहेगा जब तक आप पे नहीं करेंगे. And very interestingly, sir, if you are showing any amount in the books of accounts, that means it's an admission of liability. And admission of liability means you can claim your amount as and when you want. And you know that if the buyer is not paying you, that means you are earning 14% interest on the delayed payment. I'll tell you further how to handle that aspect also. Zumair, next slide, please. So this is another interesting thing which Ministry of Corporate Affairs have done. So not only MSME Act, the government wants to protect more. They say that specified companies must give information about payment to micro and small enterprise suppliers order. Applicable to specified companies. एक सवाल आएगा sir, what are specified companies? Specified companies are all those companies which are dealing with micro, small and medium enterprises. So साहब कोई भी company which is dealing with MSMEs are specified companies, and they have to file this particular specification, this particular form as a half-year compliance, April to September and October to March. Can I request Zumair to next slide, please? Now, sir, if the buyer defaults in payment, तो अभी हम लोगों ने पहले पार्ट में कवर कर दिया what are the obligations of the buyer and what are the rights in favor of supplier. So Dr. Kumar had given me an opportunity to speak about the compliances. So I've laid a platform to you understand that you stand on a far better situation, far better pedestal than the buyer. Now I'll say when the buyer defaults. Next slide, please. Sir, these are not language which I have picked up from anywhere in articles and all that. These are 5 points which we have taken from 600 judgments on MSME Act. मैं निचोड़ दे दिया सर आपको. Judges ने इसको consider किया है. They understand your pain and agony. Dr. Kumar may be saying years of litigation. No, sir. The judges are understanding, and these are your points. You must know them. Judges know it. Judgments are speaking about it, that if the payments are delayed, what is the sufferance of MSME? Number one, lack of ability to procure raw materials, lack of distributions and marketing due to insufficient credits, inability to manage day-to-day operations, losses due to major competitive market structure and inability to manage the demands because of insufficient funds, loss of infrastructure and technological advancements. So these are something which are very close to the business, but the Act also understands it, the judiciary also understands it. So please be sure that yes, the judges are covering these things and they understand your pain and agony in case the payments are defaulted. Next slide, please, Zumair. So again, Dr. Kumar has given me responsibility to explain you about dispute resolution mechanism under this Act. Very, very interesting, sir. Forget your check bouncing cases. Understand this. This gives you much more rights. Okay. So it says that what? Disputes related to MSMEs. So first thing is go to e-filing at MSME Samadhan portal. रमेश जी आपको म्यूट कर लीजिए प्लीज.
Mr. Arora, can I come in here?
Can I just Dr. Kumar? Yes, please, sir. Please, sir.
Can you please sum it up fast little because we are exceeding time. Okay.
Sir, I need another 3 more minutes. This opportunity they won't get again, sir, till they hear me. So I have to ensure that they understand what I'm going to say. So I'm not reading the entire slide as cautioned by Dr. Kumar. However, I will definitely tell you MSME Samadhan, council and arbitration. सिर्फ last का clause पढ़ लें sir, extreme left पे. That is answer to all the queries. Please see, it is how many? 90 days, not years, not years, sir, only 90 days. It is resolved. आपके हाथ में order आ जाएगा 90 दिन के अंदर. This is the beauty of the act. Next slide, please. So again, I'm not reading the entire arbitration procedure. Zumair, you may have one more meeting someday when I explain all this. So their lawyers will understand how to handle this issue. It is basically 1, 2, 3, 4. सीधा का slide देख लीजिएगा. Appointment, hearing, documents, hearing, evidence is only documents, and then final hearing and award. What more you want, sir? Court में issues बनते हैं. You have to go for years altogether. यहाँ सब कुछ 90 days में close, खलास. 90 days, it's all over, and there is no power to enhance the time. They have to do within 90 days. Please go ahead. The most interesting thing again, sir, आप order लेके आते हैं court से, उसको you have to get it executed through court for execution. But right now, 4 states, West Bengal, Jharkhand, Chandigarh, and 1 more I'm missing right now. I'll just see, my team has sent me that. Those 4 states have started recovering as land revenue act. जैसे आपसे income tax का recovery होता है, जैसे आपसे land tax का recovery होता है, वैसे ही आपसे buyer से using this district collector will go and recover for you. And suppose the award after 90 days is challenged, the buyer, if challenges the award, he has to deposit 75% of the award amount in your favor. So आपका interest भी उसमें cover हो जाएगा because 3 times is the interest rate. So this gives you at least a right to receive 75% if you win the award. Next slide, please. Now this is my tagline for you, sir. MSME gives you what? Right to payment. No law, including your check bouncing cases, recovery suits, commercial courts, give you this. And please read the last line. Nobody will tell you this line, sir. Supplier should not sleep over his rights. What I mean by that? Suppose an invoice is lying in your office which you have not claimed, and it is more than 3 years. Your lawyers will say, "Saab 3 saal nikal gaya, limitation khatam ho gaya, we can't do that." No, in MSME Act, you can go beyond 3 years also. We have good 4 judgments by courts from Supreme Court also that more than 3 years also, you can recover your invoices filing MSME cases before the council and arbitration. This is, I'm giving you the gift today for your knowledge that yes, you can claim more than that. I think so. Dr. Kumar has stopped me, so I'll not continue further. Thank you very much. It was very interesting talking to you guys. Thank you very much. Dr. Kumar, all yours.
Thank you. Very useful information. Some of the information is really very useful, and I would like to only say that the MSME Facilitation Council's framework in the MSME Development Act has been a very, very good reform, in fact, which was brought in through the MSME Development Act. Fortunately, I was a part of formulation of that act, and we wrote these Facilitation Council provisions. So 90 days framework was, prescribed, considering that 90 days is a fairly good period for, for the Facilitation Councils to clear off the dues and to take the decisions. But unfortunately, Mr. Arora is very ambitious and very enthusiastic, but it has not happened. It has taken years. And only 8% cases could be realized over a period of 90 days. All have gone beyond 90 days. So while the provisions are good, the actual delivery on the ground has been much delayed, as the figures indicate from the actual cases filed. Second thing is that we would love that it is all settled in 90 days. I mean, I am talking of the pains of the MSMEs, not that I am interested in, bringing out. While the judicial system is very good in understanding, appreciating, and but the delay can be certainly taken care of. I mean, I wish that this delay is reduced to 90 days or they can be. The other issue regarding Mr. Arora mentioned that beyond 3 years overdue also can be recovered and they are not time barred. I would like to hear him again because few cases have been rejected by the facilitation councils because they were more than 3 years old. If you can clarify this provision, how it has, because it will be very helpful for many people and it will be very useful. As you said, it will be a gift for them. If you can come in here.
Dr. Kumar, 3 things. Number one, I salute you that you were one of the drafters of this legislature. It's very close to me. So I salute you for the drafting, sir. The second, sir, whatever cases we have done in MSME, we have ensured that they are answered within 90 days. We don't leave our arbitrators with any leeway whatsoever. Number 3, sir, there are 2 judgments from Supreme Court, and you have in fact yourself answered when you say that counsel and arbitration proceedings are not court, and this is a quasi-judicial. If it's not quasi-judicial authority also. So there are 2 judgments which I can share. They are with in my notes. I'll just check out during this conversation, which clearly says that Limitation Act is not applicable to tribunals, and this being a tribunal, it is not applicable. And I'll share those judgments. I'll just find the citations, and when meanwhile Mr. Tejwani will finish his conversation, I'll share these judgments with you right now.
I think that will be very useful because I remember many cases rejected, and that will be very useful if you can help in resolving this, because I had to write to the ministry that this provision should be brought into the act. This gets automatically solved if you can, as a lawyer, interpret it that this is already done. So thank you very much. We will keep talking on issues also, and by the time if you can find that, it will be very interesting.
I'll give it. So before we webinar, I'll give it.
Yeah. So we have another expert on the issue, Mr. Tejaswani, and Mr. Tejaswani, in fact, would like to talk on the statutory compliance framework for SMEs, the other issue that we are going to discuss today, and particularly with regard to any special tax benefits which are available under the Income Tax Act or GST or Corporate Act for SMEs. That is the first thing, if there are any special provisions. And what is the most effective tax entry structure for MSMEs? That is another issue which I would like him to briefly mention to the people. So over to you, Mr. Tejaswani. Tejwani, sorry, Tejwani. Mr. Tejwani. Are you able to hear me, Mr. Tejwani?
Mr. Tejwani, I think you are on mute. You need to unmute yourself.
Am I audible now?
Yeah, now it's okay.
Okay.
Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Kumar. But before I get on to my presentation, I would like to bring to your kind attention that MSME registration would now be called as Udyam registration. And the new guidelines are effective from 1st of July of 2020. And now the trading entities can also register under MSME because the word "an enterprise" has now been used instead of manufacturing or service sector. And the registration, of course, as Mr. Arora also mentioned, can be done online through the Udyam registration portal. And for the existing registered persons, the applicability will be till 31st March of 2021, but post 31st March, that is from 1st April we have to again register ourselves and in part 2 of UAN. So this is important. And because the definition has now been amended with micro being 1 CR or 5 CR turnover, medium 50 CR to 250, small 10 CR to 50 CR. So government has set out a rule as to how they are going to check these limits. So all the existing
Can we
turnover.
have the presentation, please?
I'll just go to the presentation, but before that, I'm just talking about the notification or the guidelines which have been issued from 1st July, and I'm going to share this separately. The turnover will be linked to the GST return, and investment in plant and machinery will be linked to the income tax return which we are going to file. So this is something very new, which was, in fact, it came to the notice only yesterday, and I thought I'll just read it out. So now we can go to the presentation. Yeah, Zubair, I think you can maybe straight away go to slide number 3, or maybe you can just come down. I'll stop you. This is fine. I think this is already covered. Yeah, this I think I just discussed as to what is the amendment. Please go to the next page. Yeah. So just go back. Yeah. So the various laws within which the MSME has to operate depends upon the structure of MSME. Whether they are incorporated as the sole proprietorship, so this is also an individual entity, or they are partnership or one-person company, in short referred to as OPC, whether they are limited liability partnership, that is LLP, or a private limited or a public limited company. So compliances depend upon what kind of structure do we have. Next slide, please. Next page, please. Yeah. Let's, number one, on a very basic understanding, let's have a basic understanding that sole proprietorship is very cost effective in terms of formation and very easy to form, and also a very flexible entity to enter and exit. Whereas a partnership firm could offer, yeah, am I audible? Yeah. And then the private limited companies or public limited companies, they are in case of entities which are medium to large. They can opt for private limited company, because the best part of private limited is, yeah, Mr. Sumesh, HUF is also one of the entities, you are right. So in a private limited or a public limited company, the liability of the shareholders is limited. Whereas in sole proprietorship or partnership, the liabilities of the proprietor or partners, they are unlimited. The transfer of ownership or the continuity of business is more flexible as far as private limited or a public limited company is concerned. And of course, private limited or public limited being a more established kind of an entity, the availability of capital, either from banks, NBFCs, or other sources, is much easier. These are various forms, and then we are going to discuss. So I'll concentrate on the regulatory compliances. Yeah, next page, please. थोड़ा सा ऊपर आपको आना होगा. Yeah, sole proprietor. So currently there is no strong mechanism by the government of India, except that they capture our figures through various information which is available on portal, and henceforth the GST returns would serve as the basis for determining the turnover, the income tax returns for determining the investment in plant machinery and equipments. So following licenses are generally required by every MSME, including the sole proprietor and including HUF as well. Number one, the GST registration. In few cases, VAT is applicable, but I guess we can just leave it. Second is very important, the shops and establishment license, which in Delhi, there was a survey done wherein a lot of people have not actually gone in for shops and establishment, in short referred to as S&D license. Importer and exporter code is important where the imports or exports are involved. ESI and Provident Fund, in case we fulfill the number of employees. Then professional tax in certain states is applicable. And employees provident fund. In some states, there are also labor laws, and we have to contribute to labor welfare fund. There, also, in some cases, there could be some other local law which could be applicable. So these are very broad on taxes, indirect and direct taxes, that these provisions are applicable. Of course, factory licenses and other registrations, as Mr. Kumar mentioned, they also are licenses and registrations to be taken before we really commence the manufacturing activity. Yeah, next page, please. Or maybe if you could go down. Yeah. Correct. So income tax, which is governed by the Indian Income Tax Act of 1961. The compliances here are that we have to pay the advance tax on quarterly basis, and tax has to be deducted at source and deposited on monthly basis in case we are making payments towards contractual services, professional payments, rent, or any kind of a technical service fee. The returns are to be filed, TDS returns on quarterly basis, and income tax returns are to be filed on annual basis. Then also there is a very interesting amendment which has happened during this Union Budget of 2020, which is now a Finance Act, about the tax audit. So tax audit is applicable in case our turnover exceeds the sum of rupees 1 crore. But the normal banking channels, then the tax audit limit stands at 5 CR, 5 crores. So this is one very important thing, and then we can really avoid tax audit in case we are able to achieve 95% through other than cash media. Yeah, next page, please. Then as far as GST is concerned, the limit which was earlier 20 lakhs stands increased to 40 lakhs. The registration is required in case the turnover is either exceeding 20 lakhs in it's post first April, then 40 lakhs. And collection, I think, there's an echo in sound here. Yeah. So as far as GST is concerned, the deposit has to happen every month with some filing of return, and the GST audit is applicable in case our turnover exceeds a sum of Indian rupees 2 crore. And of course, maintenance of books of accounts are required. And also there is a requirement of filing annual return in case the turnover is exceeding 2 crore. This is about GST. Yes, where you can go down. Provident fund, as we discussed, is applicable in case the number of employees in our firm or the company that we are operating exceeds 10 or 20, as the case may be. It is to be collected and deposited on monthly basis, and the returns are to be filed along with the deposit of PF itself. And same is applicable for ESI and professional tax, whichever state. So professional tax, of course, is not applicable in Delhi, Gurgaon, but in states like Andhra Pradesh, Maharashtra, Karnataka, professional tax is also applicable, and it is applicable even on the directors of the company. And the PT return is to be filed every year. Yeah, next page. Partnership more or less is same, except that there are a couple of additional requirements. Yeah, you can go down. In case there is any change in the partnership, or the name of the partners are changed, or management changes, or address changes, the intimation has to be made to the income tax and the GST authorities. And in case you have a factory license, then the amendments also are intimated to them. These are the additional ones. Otherwise, everything that we discussed above becomes applicable to partnership as well. Now, this is something very interesting. One person company, as we discussed earlier. Yeah, you can go down, please. One person company is a very interesting and a new concept brought in by the Corporate Act of 2013. So as we discussed earlier, that in case you are a corporate entity, the liability is limited as against proprietor and partnership, wherein the liability of the proprietor or partners is unlimited. So to bring in the sanctity to a MSME, the OPC concept, which internationally is a very valid concept, was brought in. So if you really form a OPC, then it's a separate legal entity which has a perpetual succession and again limited liability. One of the very important, and registration of course is mandatory. It has to be registered with the registrar of companies, and except that it is again a beautiful concept. However, the OPC may lose its status if the paid up capital, not the authorized, if the paid up capital exceeds 50 lakhs or the average annual turnover crores in 3 immediately preceding years. So OPC otherwise बहुत अच्छा concept है, but OPC will become a private limited company as soon as the paid up capital, ये और condition है, दोनों में से कोई भी एक condition fulfill होती है, if the paid up capital exceeds 50 lakhs or the average annual turnover exceeds 2 CR in 3 immediately preceding consecutive years. How it is calculated, I have given an example later. Yeah, next page, please. And of course, no minors are can become members in a OPC company. And as far as registration requirements are concerned, they are same as we discussed in sole proprietorship, except that there are certain additional requirements because it's an entity, baby in itself. So additional requirements are as per the Companies Act of 2013. And number one, mandatory registration. Zumair, sound echo हो रही है पीछे से. Yeah, number one is mandatory.
Mr. Tejwani, can we speed it up, please?
Yeah, but
थोड़ा speed बढ़ा दीजिए बस.
Yeah. So this is so I guess I'm just left with one more after this. So this is mandatory registration is required with ROC. Maintenance of booked accounts becomes mandatory. Audit is compulsory in this case, and the directors have to have few disclosures to be made every year and filed with ROC. Yeah, I think we can go to the next page, Zumair. नीचे आप आ जाइए. So I'll combine LLP and private limited companies together. आप थोड़ा और नीचे आ जाइए. और नीचे आ जाइए. और नीचे आ जाइए. Yeah, company पे हम आ जाते हैं. This is very, very important, and because I am recommending the formation of company more. So company is a structure which attracts, number one, the maximum regulatory compliances, of course, but then it is one of the structures where the tax rates are very low. The tax rates, in case you are a private limited company or a public limited company, is 22%, and including surcharge and cess, the tax rate becomes 25.17%, as against the tax rate of 30% in proprietorship and partnership or LLP. The additional requirements here, which are actually more, is the maintenance of certain additional statutory records and also maintaining the minute books and a lot of compliances with the ROC office. Yeah, Zubair, आप थोड़ा और नीचे आ जाइए. I think the last one. And then there are a lot of secretarial compliances to be done by the company, filing of various forms within the defined period of time. थोड़ा और नीचे आ जाइए. Then there are FEMA compliances, if applicable. If there are any overseas shareholders or directors, then FEMA compliances would also become applicable. थोड़ा और नीचे आ जाइए. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. So, and in addition to these compliances, books of accounts have to be maintained more thoughtfully and thoroughly because they are subject to statutory audit. And if required tax audit and transfer pricing audit. So this is what I thought I'll just manage. And the best, according to me, is that in case it's a growing concern, you have a capital which is significant, business is doing good, or there are partners from outside, then company seems to be a good option. Because of a couple of reasons: the limited liability, the availability of capital and funds, and third, the tax rate, which is very effective. And I have another slide which I would request Zumair to be shared with you, which gives the deadlines and the dates for various compliances. So thank you very much. This is what I
Thank you, Mr. Tejwani. Very useful. In fact, this is the basic things, but very, very useful for the new enterprises, the first generation enterprises, and those who want to set up their new MSMEs. I think all these information will be very useful, and even for those companies, even for those MSMEs which are existing. It is a recap for them as to what are the important provisions which probably they do not understand. Hello?
Yeah, thank you.
So all this information is very important, and you continue with us. We will have more interaction because there will be some questions also. So let me go back to Mr. Arora. If I have one or two small clarifications and questions from him. Mr. Arora, are you with us? Are you able to hear me? You are muted. You are muted.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. So I had only a small point to ask, because you are a practicing lawyer as well as a practicing person at the facilitation councils also, as you mentioned. So what happens to the decisions taken by the MSME facilitation councils? Where do they go? And once the decision of recovery is pronounced by the MSME Facilitation Council, is it like a decree and it needs to be executed like a decree? And the beneficiary of the decree has to go to the court of law? And what is the procedure? If you can explain for our viewers.
So before that, sir, so Dr. Kumar, before that, I'll cover up those two judgments which you wanted.
Yeah, please.
That's more important right now. So first one is, Dr. Kumar, you may mute yourself, please. Perfect. So this is Tamil Nadu Generations 2014 judgment, which clearly says that statute-mandated arbitrations are not subject to limitation under Section 43 of Arbitration Conciliation Act. So this being as per the statute, so you are not covered. And the second one is MP Steel Corporation. I'll share all the citations with you, which says that Limitation Act would only be applicable to the courts on its own and not on tribunals or quasi-judicial authorities until and unless specifically provided for. And so this act doesn't say that. So these are two judgments which are quoted, and we have filed cases more than 3 years, and we were able to get arbitration awards on that. Coming back to your conciliation proceedings. So basically, as far as Arbitration and Conciliation Act, mediation and conciliation does not have teeth. So it's only the arbitration which is mandate, which can be taken as a decree, the award. Whereas mediation is again with the parties, where they may agree and sign some document. Conciliation is only an effort by an independent conciliator to try to get this dispute settled. However, the only difference between mediation and conciliation is that in mediation, they cannot record anything which you say there. In conciliation, because you exchange your okay, my team is asking a question again. Okay, so in conciliation, whatever record is exchanged between the parties, that can be used as evidence. However, sir, conciliation authority, if they fail to find out any result and nobody is hearing them, then the only thing is that they have to refer to mediation. So it is basically an effort of mediation and then to arbitration, sir. So I think so.
So what happens to the decree which is given by the arbitrator? How does it get executed?
So I have already
and how much time does it take?
I have already explained. if you see, I gave a slide where I said that in case the this is passed, okay, in case the award is passed by the arbitrator and it has to be challenged by the buyer or the losing party within 90 days of the award as per the act, and the other party, the winning of the party of the award, must go to court for execution of the decree under Order 21 Rule 11. However, 4 states which I told that time, now my team has given me the names of all those states also: Jharkhand, Madhya Pradesh, Chandigarh and West Bengal. Sir, you are not required to go to the court. You will definitely straight away go to district collector, file your award, and he will execute the award for you as land revenue arrears. And in fact, one of the meetings where Mr. Gadkari was also there, so I requested, sir, if 4 can do, why not all others? Why can't it be a central act in support to MSME? They say we are considering it. So that's the situation like, sir.
May I ask you, Mr. Hello, Mr. Ramesh?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'll come to the question answer later. Let me complete the discussion, please. If you
No,
can
wait,
take
no,
few minutes.
the execution.
Dr. Kumar, please.
Yeah, I am not able to hear. He's muted, in fact. You can unmute. You can unmute yourself. You are asking question, SB Associates.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Ask the question, sir.
Yes, yes.
Execution, we said the DC can do it.
Sir, I could not understand the question, sir. Can you please?
Can you repeat?
Execution not by a court but by district magistrate.
Sir, executions except those 4 states which I named: Jharkhand, West Bengal, Madhya Pradesh and Chandigarh. Rest all you have to approach to the court under Order 21 Rule 11 to file a petition, because award is a decree and decree is to be executed by the court only, sir.
Chandigarh will include Punjab, Haryana.
UT of Chandigarh, sir, not
Only
Punjab.
UT. Only UT. Only UT.
Only UT, sir.
Thank you.
So I will come back to the question answer later. Let me complete the discussion. Maybe another 5-10 minutes you can wait. After that, we'll read out all the questions. If you can write your questions in the chat box, please. Hello? Yeah, Mr. Tejwani. Tejwani, in fact, there is one clarification and information rather as to which is the most attractive entry for the business, particularly MSMEs, as far as income tax is concerned. Which entity is most beneficial?
No, as I discussed in the beginning, sole proprietorships, HUFs, they are very attractive with less cost of formation and easy to form with less documentation, and entry exits are very simple and easy. But once we grow and really get to the next level, then one can consider and should consider forming a private limited company, which, in addition to, of course, the compliances, has the benefits which we discussed, like tax rate, which is 25%, and in case it's a manufacturing unit which is going to get set up before 1st April 23, the tax rate is 15% there. The limited liability of the shareholders, so they are not subjected to the unlimited liability. And the third, being an entity, the availability of funds and capital. So this is what the recommendation is, that once we are on the next stage, then private limited company is a very good option.
Okay. Is a follow-up question on this? How is LLP better than the private limited company?
LLP has less compliances, and otherwise all the benefits are same except tax rate. Tax rate is normal 30% as far as LLP is concerned, but compliances are less for sure.
For the LLP?
But yeah, but LLP is more suitable to the service industry rather than manufacturing or trading. And even for capital, if for sourcing the capital, there are certain compliances which are required. But otherwise, LLP is also next good entity, but not better than private limited.
Okay. So there was another provision which was introduced by the government I think in the budget several years back, and then it has been discussed several times. A lot of improvements have been made. That is presumptive taxation. I am sure that you must be dealing with
Yes,
presumptive
I was
taxation.
covering it in the next PPT, but I guess because of lack of time.
Let me ask you a specific question.
Yes.
Whether the presumptive taxation benefit is granted to LLPs?
Yeah. It is irrespective of the structure. It is not subjected to any structure.
Okay. Because what I was told is, and somewhere I read that presumptive taxation is not available to LLPs.
No.
You are confirming
It
that
is applicable to LLP. Yes.
it's a good thing, because people were discouraged that why should they form LLP when presumptive taxation is benefit.
It is there, except that some grounds are to be maintained. That's the only additional.
Okay. So coming back to Mr. Arora, Mr. Arora, are you with us? Are you able to hear me? You are muted. Muted. If you can unmute yourself.
With you, sir.
Yeah. So it's a very different question than the legal issues. See, most of the people don't want to go to MSME facilitation councils to lodge their cases and complain, and to the MSME Samadhan, because of the fear that they will lose the business and the relationship with the buyers. And once they lodge the complaints with the facilitation councils, they cannot do any business in future with their buyers. I mean, those who are delaying. So what do you have to say this? How do we get a middle ground where the buyers also don't get annoyed, and the purpose of making this provision also gets served? Do you have, any experience, whether you have come across such cases and tried to resolve them in between, so that the relationship also continues?
Lovely question, sir. Very close to. I'll take 2 minutes to answer this.
Yeah, please.
So I have traveled all across the world, and if you ask me about dispute resolution, I really wish that we follow American style. So Americans wanted arbitration, they went to conciliation, and now it's mediation, sir. And mediation is one aspect which should be picked up, and the entire world has gone to that, because recoveries don't come by arbitrations. You're very right when you say there should be a middle way. The middle way is, sir, shake the hand and let's earn right now than to wait for paper degree. And sir, now we have mediation centers all across the country. Delhi mediation centers doing wonderful job. Delhi mediation centers are doing wonderful job. They are really trying to mediate and resolve. And if you go to the court also, the court first sends your matter to mediation, so that you enter as enemies and come out as friends with the money, whatever you agree. This is one provision which is working. So, in fact, your act doesn't speak about mediation. It's more on conciliation and then arbitration. However, we have mediation centers, and anybody who wants to first try, they may renegotiate their contracts, look forward for settlements outside the court. There are centers established by both the judicial officers, with the judiciary as well as governments. Try that. If it's workable, wonderful. If not, then try for other things.
Excellent. I think very good practical view. Thank you, Mr. Arora. Let me go to Mr. Tejwani again. Mr. Tejwani, it's a very difficult time during the COVID-19. While you have explained the provisions, legal provisions, and the taxation provisions, and the constitution of different enterprises, tell me one thing for the benefit of the viewers here. In fact, what are the relaxations granted by the government and by the taxation department, GST, as well as direct taxation for various compliances during this period, for filing of returns, income tax, TDS? If you can explain in 2 minutes.
So annual returns which were to be filed by 31st October by the MSMEs, the date stands extended to 30th November. अब हम जो भी अपना टैक्स की रिटर्न है, that can be filed up to 30th November. उसके बाद another one is the interest rate has been reduced to 9% for any delay in payments of taxes during this period. जो पहले rate was 1.5%, it is now reduced to 9% per annum. That's 0.75% per annum. There is another very interesting scheme, not just applicable to MSME but to others as well. but for MSME, very interesting is the introduction of VSV scheme, Vivad Se Vishwas scheme. So any dispute pending at any level, tribunal ho, CID appeal ho, usko, and if it is pending as on 31st of January of 2020, by payment of taxes, just at the rate of 30% without any interest and penalty, the dispute could be withdrawn by payment of taxes, and the time allowed is 31st of December 2020. This is one very interesting scheme which we can think of. Similarly, I'm sure Mr. Sumesh Arora has already discussed, but we advise most of our clients, which are MSME, to submit a declaration, which the client generally at the end of the year asks for, whether you are MSME or not, irrespective whether you are registered with UAN or not. So declaration is important, and a very desired course is to publish your statement that you are MSME registered with so-and-so authority on your purchase orders or agreements, and maybe even on your invoices, because it's a kind of an information to your vendor or your buyer or supplier. Similarly, one very interesting thing, that whatever interest is payable to MSME beyond 45 days, as Mr. Arora mentioned, it is the bank rate into 3 times. So that kind of interest expense is disallowed. It is not allowable expense in the hands of the person who has delayed the payment. So this is very interesting understanding for all of us, that we must claim it, and even they are not getting any benefit of that interest liability. So we must approach them, and I'll just give you our own example. In fact, we have 3 such cases wherein the payment was delayed, and we filed the claim, and MSME authorities were very, very active. And I guess within 3 months or even less than 3 months, our claims were settled, and there was a mutual, of course, they tried for the mutual agreement, and we were able to recover our dues. And otherwise, all the tax assessments which were to be completed within September or December, they all stand extended up to 31st March. तो अगर हमारी कोई भी टैक्स की असेसमेंट चल रही है इनकम टैक्स ऑफिसर के सामने, सीआईटी के सामने या डीआरपी के सामने, the date for closure now is 31st March. So a lot of relaxation has been given on this account. Also, the reporting, of course, Mr. Sumesh Arora mentioned that there is a half-yearly reporting on dues which are pending with MSME. This also has become very effective, because the notices have been sent to the company seeking the explanation for such delays. So these are some of the benefits, Mr. Kumar, given. And GST, again, the dates have been extended. There's a lot of relaxation in terms of filing, and reduction in rate of interest also from almost 18% to 12% in indirect tax. And I have given everything in my second PPT, so that could be referred for more details.
Yeah. So thank you, Mr. Tejwani. It is very useful. In fact, although people keep reading, through the newspapers and other WhatsApp messages and coming from here and there, but then at a consolidated level, all the information coming from on an authentic person, a practicing chartered accountant who is dealing with this on day-to-day basis, is really a very good source of getting the correct information at one platform. So thank you very much. I think it was very useful, very interesting, and Mr. Arora's views on and dispensation with regard to the MSMEs getting benefit out of MSME facilitation councils, and he gave a real good information with regard to even 3 years old cases which can be taken up with the MSME facilitation councils. I think a lot of clients would benefit, and a lot of MSMEs would benefit because of that. So overall, the discussion has been very informative, very useful. I am sure the participants would have taken a lot of guidance and information, and will be helpful to them. So before we conclude, let me ask Zubair and Sodamini if there are any questions, then we can take them. one miss.
Yes, sir. We have received quite many questions today.
Please go ahead.
And I will be putting to you just selected questions. Around 5 questions I have shortlisted,
Okay.
and rest we can direct to our experts for replying, and then we will be replying back to these questions. So the questions I have selected is Mr. Karthik Deora. He is asking, can one MSME seller demands money from another MSME buyer, or the buyer can deny or postpone being an MSME?
I think it was answered by Mr. Arora very well earlier. Would you like to come in, Mr. Arora, again?
Then again, I'll just use one word: anyone. Anyone means even you have MSME or you are not MSME.
Yeah.
Anyone will cover everything.
Please go ahead. Next.
Miss Swati Gupta, she's asking, what if you don't have the material receipt signature or stamp on the invoice copy? Is there any way to get the payment from the wholesaler in such a case? Kindly advise.
Mr. Arora? Mr. Arora?
So, Ms. Gupta, normally my team is answering all the questions on the chat box. However, the voice is echoing. I don't know why. Okay. However, in case you don't have invoice or acknowledgement, you may file an affidavit before the council stating that the goods have been given with some proof from your side. That is enough, and your affidavit per se is enough. The buyer has to deny it by substantive proof that the goods have not been received by them. So you stand on a very good platform if you file an affidavit also. It will work.
Okay,
Next, Mr. Zubair.
RK Neemani, he is asking, does anyone has to be registered with NESL before?
The question is not heard properly. Can you repeat?
Mr. RK Neemani is asking, does anyone has to be registered with NESL before filing case on MSME Samadhan?
If you are
I don't think.
if you are a micro or a small industry enterprise, you are not required to be registered. There's a judgment. I mentioned Ramke. If you are medium, yes, you must file your memorandum before filing the reference. When you did your job, when you did your order and you did supply, you may not be registered, but before reference, you must be registered. There are 2 judgments from Delhi High Court on that.
And let me also say that now from 1st July, a new registration procedure has come into force, which is called Udyam Aadhaar now, instead of earlier Udyog Aadhaar.
No,
so there is a registration window open by the Ministry of MSME, Udyam Aadhaar, and you can register on that. A new certificate will be granted to you. That is a little input I thought let me give.
Will this new registration be earlier?
Sorry?
Will this new registration replace UM?
Yes, it will.
NSIC registration will not be required hereafter.
No, it will be required. NSIC registration is for a different purpose.
Government purchase under GP.
Yes, that is for government procurement, where you get the exemption from payment of bid money and earnest money and free tender and price preference and all those things. So, Zubair, any other question?
Yes, the last question we have for today is from Mr. Bandutia. He is saying, we have approached MSME Facilitation Center for recovery of delayed payment, and the buyer on basis of quality issue has delayed the hearing, and finally the case has been referred to the arbitration from last 8 months.
Mr. Arora?
We have not received any call from arbitration till now. What to do, please suggest.
Perfect. So one thing, yes, for delayed payment, you can initiate arbitration. 2, if it is 8 months, you have to insist your arbitrator or go back to conciliation and report them that the arbitrator is sitting on the award or the proceedings, and request for change of the arbitrator, because council is very strict, and I have seen a couple of councils working very hard with the arbitrators to ensure that within 90 days the awards are passed. But you have to go back to the council, maybe change for the arbitrator, or may request the arbitrator that he has to close the proceedings within time. And the time is 90 days, sir.
Mr. Arora, if the auditor has given the award and the court is sitting on the 34 application beyond 12 months.
Yes. If
what
there
to
are
do?
no questions, then we can.
Mr. SB Associates, today we are on MSME Act and not the court procedure. Any other day on court, sir?
No, the 12-month period is allowed now under the Arbitration Act.
Sir, right
And
now
if
we
you-
are discussing CPC. We are discussing MSME only.
We can request.
Thank you, sir.
We can request the participants to mail any questions if they have any other questions after this program, and they probably will be addressed by the expert panel members who are available with us today. So let me conclude. In fact, it has been very interesting. We had excellent, people who are perfect in their, work and with a lot of experience, practical managers who are dealing with these issues day by day, and who better than Mr. Arora and Mr. Tejwani would have answered these compliance issues and issues with regard to facilitation councils, delayed payments and taxation, what are the benefits, and with regard to extension of dates. All these things are very useful for the industry, for the members. I am sure that the members would have got a lot of benefit. If there are still any other issues left, you can always mail your questions and get Mr. Zumair will take, he has the contact details of both the gentlemen, and then the relevant questions will be forwarded to them for, addressing, and then details can be given. So let me conclude by thanking them. Mr. Arora, thank you very much. You are a real expert in your field. Mr. Tejwani, thanks a lot for participating and coming to this program and giving your views. Let me also thank the organizers. In fact, Power to SME, and for organizing this program, especially Ms. Sudha Zareen, who is the Senior Vice President of the Power to SME and in charge of these events, in making a series of such events which are very useful and beneficial for the MSME sector. And colleagues Mr. Zumair and Sodamini, both are backroom hard-working people who are putting all these programs together, and that is how this output comes into being, a very professional output. So thank you all. Thanks a lot. Over to Zumair.
Thank you, Dr. Thank you, all panelists, Mr. Suresh Arora and Mr. Tejwani, for joining us and sharing your deep insight. And if any of the participants with any further queries to be raised to the panelists, kindly submit your queries by way of feedback form. The link is provided on the chat box, and do subscribe to our daily newsletter, SME Cover also. And we will be getting back to you with the responses from our experts. And till then, have a nice day. Thank you, everyone.
Keep safe. Thank you.